All right, now to the Western Conference, where the Phoenix Suns continued their storybook regular season with a 118-117 win over the Portland Trailblazers. Devin Booker was fouled on a jump shot by Norman Powell with 2.4 seconds left and shook off a poor shooting night by making those two foul shots to give the Suns a lead. CJ McCollum had a chance to win it, but his last second three-pointer missed. Chris Paul was terrific, scoring 26 points on 11 for 14 shooting. He also had 7 assists. Mikal Bridges added a double-double with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and Cameron Payne had 21 points off the bench. Damian Lillard scored a game-high 41 points on 16 for 23, and CJ McCollum had 27, but the Blazers could only get 14 points from their bench. Phoenix still has a chance to claim the number 1 seed in the West, but they'll need a little bit of help, while the Blazers are still looking to avoid the play-in tournament. Drink, what's the ceiling for these teams in the playoffs?
Well, the ceiling. Let's start with the obvious. The Blazers, first round exit. If they get into I think they're gonna struggle. Cause I think the Lakers, cause I think Portland got a high chance of losing to Utah. It is Utah. No, Denver. They got a high chance of losing to Denver. And if they lose to Denver, I think the Lakers got a really good chance to win both of their games. So if they end up playing in the play-in, I don't know if they can win the play-in. I don't know how much better they are than Memphis, and I don't know. I would say in a Memphis series they would have the best player, but if they play Golden State, I don't think Lillard is better than Steph Curry. So I don't think they'll have the best player in that series. I mean, in that game or two, or however you want to look at it. So I don't know. If they make it into the field of 8, they're out in the first round. I think they struggle in the play-in either way. I just think this team, they got a lot going on. First and foremost, the coach, we just talked about this. The coach has already been fired, and they still playing for something. So that's already a lot of distraction right there. Then you got, what you say they scored, how many points the bench scored? 14? That's not going to get it done. That is not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done against the Spurs. That's not going to get it done. I don't even know if that gets it done against the Grizzlies. Like, that's just not going to get it done. You know my true feeling about the Blazers. I've always just been over the Blazers, and I think it's no different this season. I just don't see a lot that gives me any type of pause to think they'll do any better than they've done in the past. I think they'd hit their ceiling already as far as the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago. And then you, like I said, the debacle with the coach, he's already been fired. In the public, he's already been fired. So you got that hanging over the team as well. So the Blazers, no more than a first round exit, they're out of here. Now the Suns. Now, listen, Monty Williams might be the coach of the year this year. Chris Paul, he came there, turned things around. Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, all this sounds good. I love it. I got the pieces. They got a chance to be the number 1 seed. Yeah, they need some help from the Jazz to accomplish that. But, hey, you know what I'm saying? It's still an accomplishment whatsoever because you got to think this team last year was the second to last team in the West. This year, they're the second to best team in the West. So you got to respect that. You got to respect that. However, I wear glasses, so that's why they got the term 4 hours. So I know what I'm seeing out here. And what I'm seeing out here is it's not enough to get it done once they get into the second round. I like their style of play and everything. But once again, your best player, let me take that back because a lot of people consider Devin Booker to be the best player. Your first or second best player, however you look at Chris Paul, is by far the most experienced player on your team. And we've said this on multiple occasions. What really has he accomplished? He has made it no further than the conference finals. And he done lost every conference finals he's been in. That you got to take that into account. So we want to see if he can get over the hump. Now, you take Chris Paul out of the situation. Now you got a bunch of young dudes outside of Jay Crowder that hasn't done anything. So now we need to see if they can do something in the postseason. So it's very hard for me to look at the Suns and be like, Western Conference. After I seen, I don't know. I'm willing to say they might have like peaked as far as a team. I don't know if they'll play any better in the playoffs than they played already. To be honest, these young guys, this is probably the hardest they done played since they've been in the NBA. A lot of those guys, this is probably the hardest they done played since they've been NBA players. So you get in the second round and you got to run up against a Clippers team, run up against a Lakers team, you know, that have been there, done that, know what's going on. IQ is out the roof, and now you got is Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul and LeBron James, who you taking? Chris Paul and Anthony Davis, who you taking? You know, Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard, who you taking? You might take Chris Paul or Paul George. You know, a lot of people feel how they feel about Paul George. But with all that said, I mean, and by the way, the Clippers got a poor man's version of Chris Paul when you look at Rondo. Take that for what it's worth, but they have a poor man's version of Chris Paul when you look at Rondo. So, with that said, man, I can't see them getting past the second round. If they made it to the Western Conference Finals, we come back on the show, I issue an apology. You know, my bad, I didn't see it. I should have cleaned my glasses. I don't know. But as we sit here right now, I cannot see the Suns going past the second round because I don't think they're better than the Lakers when healthy. I don't think they're better than the Clippers when healthy. And I think it's a draw at least with Utah. And if Utah had Donovan Mitchell, I would say they're not better than Utah. We still got Denver hanging around. If Denver had Jamal Murray, do we think the Suns better than Denver? I don't think so. So, you know, the way the season is shook out for the Suns, a couple of injuries that got them right. But in the playoffs, you got to figure every team is going to give you what they got left in the tank. We'll see how real they are. So, yeah, man, look, Blazers, first round, no more than the first round, they out of here. Suns, second round, they're probably out of here. So that's my ceiling for both of them.
I think so. I'll start with Portland because either way, they probably the team that's going to exit the scene first. But I think if Portland, if Denver and the Clippers are, you know, they're locked up for that third seed right now. If Denver gets the 3 seed, they have no Jamal Murray. I think Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are good enough that they can get you through in a series. I think they can shoot themselves into the semifinals against a Denver team that doesn't have its best backcourt piece in Jamal Murray. I don't really, but you know, they can just as easily go in there and flop around and lose, just like they lost to who was it, Drew Holiday in New Orleans a few years ago. So, but I would give them a chance. Okay, now, if it's the Clippers, you can go ahead and forget about it. Go ahead and get the jet running, and hope the coach got his bags packed because they've already
gas up the jet.
I can't. You know, I don't know if I've like. You know, and we was just talking about Terry Stotts, like, and I get it. Like, if the guy's been there too long and people ain't listening no more, get him on out of here. But like, you gotta like plug up them leaks in the PR department or whatever. Who like that's leaking that? Terry Stotts fired. There's still like 2 weeks left in the regular season, and you go into the playoffs, and they in the playoffs every year. They made a Western Conference Finals. I don't know. I just think that's a little bit disrespectful to Terry Stotts, even though it might be time that he leaves. Anyway, discussion for another time with his job security or lack of thereof. But yeah, look, and that's another thing. What if you got all these things being said? What if Portland wins a playoff series? You still getting them out of here? Because we don't. Okay, but what we don't think they win in the playoff series, so they would have exceeded expectations. And you still fire him. I don't know. That's something you're gonna have to. I guess we'll talk about later when he gets fired. But look, Phoenix can go a lot of ways too. Like if they get the Lakers in the first round and the Lakers are healthy, I think Phoenix is one and done. I think the Lakers get through them. Remember, LeBron's never lost a first round series in his career, so that'll be on the line. And you know, like you say, some of these dudes, Chris Paul. Every team he goes to, they get better in year one. You know, we've seen it on many, many occasions. But like, he don't have the best playoff track record, and you know, outside of really Jay Crowder, there's not a lot of playoff experience. It's gonna be Ayton's first time in the playoffs, Booker's first time, Mikal Bridges, so on and so forth. So there's not a lot of experience, and the experience that you do have, Crowder was in the finals last year, but he's not the guy you're going to look to and like, oh, if they if Phoenix don't make it where they should go, we're going to be looking at Jay Crowder. No, we're not.
Right.
We're going to be looking at Chris Paul and Devin Booker. So, but I do think, and much like if Phoenix runs into look, if Phoenix gets lucky, they don't get a full strength Lakers team, or they get the Warriors, you'd favor them in the first round. If they run up against the Nuggets, same way as Portland, if they get the Nuggets or the Blazers, I think Phoenix could make the Western Conference Finals. I think there's a path for Phoenix to make the Western Conference Finals. But I don't think they want to see the Clippers. If they run up against the Clippers in the semifinals or a full strength Lakers team in the first round, then I think Phoenix exits early. But they could get a path, much like, sometimes a championship team or a team that advances real far, sometimes good fortune has a lot to do with it. I think we saw it last year with the Lakers. Lakers had some good fortune last year. Phoenix could have some this year just based on the Lakers just can't get healthy, and they avoid the Clippers on one side, so they could have, a Laker team that just ain't right, and then you get Denver that don't have his second best player, who was, you talk about a bubble, a guy that just went bonkers in the bubble. Jamal Murray fits that to a T. So I think Phoenix could make the Western Conference Finals, but if the Lakers are healthy, I think Phoenix is going home in the first round, and Portland most likely is going home in the first round.